On May 17th, I started traveling solo across the United States on my Africa twin in order to ride the Lincoln Highway westbound from New York City to San Francisco. These are my travels. Hey explorers, I am in Lisbon, Ohio, back on the Lincoln Highway, out of visiting and relatives and everything, returned from New York, Niagara Falls yesterday, 300 plus miles to get here, a lot of it on the Lincoln Highway, rode through Pittsburgh, that was really cool. And I'm starting the trip back on the Lincoln Highway, headed west. In 1912, the car was rising in popularity, but there was no national road system for them to travel between communities. Each community had their own roads that led to the center of town, but often did not connect to other towns. In addition, in the summer the roads were dusty and riddled with potholes, and in the winter they were basically impassable. Carl Fisher, who created the Indianapolis Speedway and turned swampland in Florida into Miami Beach, conceived the idea of a unified road that would travel from Times Square in New York City to the Golden Gate Park in San Francisco. He called it the Rock Highway. Henry Joy, the president of the Packard Motor Company, convinced him to change the name to the Lincoln Highway for fundraising purposes. Carl's idea was to have the public and private corporations donate in order to establish and maintain the road. Theodore Roosevelt, Thomas Edison, both friends of Fisher, as well as the current president Woodrow Wilson, contributed to the fund. But while Henry Ford realized that a road system was necessary for the successful sales of his cars, he refused to contribute, claiming that it should be the government who funded public roads, not private citizens. He probably wasn't wrong. Eventually, most of the needed money was raised and the route determined by a committee. The chosen route was not always popular with the communities that it did not pass through. At the time, the route was essentially cobbled together by connecting the already existing roads in the areas that it was routed through. At the beginning, while the roads were improved, they were all mostly gravel, stone, sand, clay, shells, oiled earth, whatever. And in Ohio, as in a lot of the Midwest states, there were roads of brick. A lot of those brick roads are still in existence and being used today. William McKinley was the nation's 25th president, serving from 1897 until his assassination in 1901. He was the last U.S. president to serve in the Civil War and moved to Canton, Ohio after that war. As president, he oversaw the victory over Spain in the Spanish-American War, which also led to the acquisition of Puerto Rico, the Philippines, and the island of Guam. He was key in the annexation of Hawaii and the negotiations for building the Panama Canal. He easily won re-election for his second term, but his assassin shot him on September 6, 1901, and he died on September 14th. It was only fitting for him to be buried in the city that he loved. He met his wife, and he called home. The William McKinley National Memorial was home to his presidential library and museum. The complex is located right on the Lincoln Highway, but unfortunately was closed the day I visited. I'm at the McKinley Presidential Library in Canton. To get to Canton, somewhere around Minerva, something like that, there was a detour on Route 30, which is the Lincoln Highway. I didn't see any detour signs, so I just kind of found my way to another highway that led to Canton, and that's sort of how I got here. But the Lincoln Highway through that area was closed. Fortunately, no points of interest that I wanted to look at that I could find, so it wasn't really that important. Canton, Ohio, home of NFL Football Hall of Fame and the McKinley Presidential Library. I spent the night in Lima, Ohio. I woke up to a beautiful sunny day, and I continued my ride on the Lincoln Highway into Indiana.
And it's the road I figured, and the curves I've been living, the flag I'm given, a signal. Pick me up again. Come on, pick me up now. So you're the fire, you're the flare, you're the song inside my head.
I am here at the Neil Armstrong Space Museum. First man to walk on the moon from Ohio. Gonna go find out what's inside. But before we do that, I've noticed that there's quite a few bikes around here. One there, one there, one there, and a whole group of them over there. And I have a feeling it's a ride. So I'm gonna go find out and take a look at the Gemini and the Apollo capsules and see what I can find here. It was a group ride across Ohio. They were on one of their last days and trying to get out of the heat. It was like 95 degrees. So a lot of them were inside enjoying the air conditioning, and the rest were out in the shade. The Neil Armstrong Air and Space Museum is not exactly on the Lincoln Highway, but it is close enough that I had to visit. It's located in Wapakoneta. Let me try that again. It is located in Wapakoneta, Ohio, and I am pretty sure I did not pronounce that right. It's well organized, making it fairly quick to see the whole museum and still feel like you've had a chance to understand the exhibits. The museum covers Armstrong's early life through his Navy career, where he flew combat missions in Korea. After Neil's life story, the museum documents the space race of the late 50s and early 60s. Armstrong had 2 space missions. The first one was Gemini 8, and there's an actual cutaway view of the Gemini capsule, which, when you think about how long they were in orbit, is really small. His Gemini suit is also on display. Moving through the museum, there are models of the different rockets used throughout the NASA programs and examples of life while orbiting the Earth, including food. And of course, if you eat, you have personal hygiene that you have to deal with. Both the food and the personal hygiene displays I found interesting because they're 2 subjects that I haven't really covered or explored in detail in the past. There were more examples of life in space on display. And of course, Neil's second mission, Apollo 11, where he became the first man to walk on the moon, is covered extensively. They had the spacesuit he wore during the flight, examples of the cameras used to document the event, sampling tools used to collect soil and rocks from the moon, and there is actually a moon rock on display. As you leave the museum, there are a lot of memorabilia celebrating Armstrong and his accomplishments. One of the more interesting facts I learned was that Ohio has the 4th largest number of astronauts in NASA, behind New York, California, and Texas. Neil Armstrong Space Museum, Ohio. Got the sticker, because you got to get a sticker. Anyways, well worth it. $9 for seniors, $10 for regular people. Well worth it. The whole history of the space program and Neil Armstrong's and the trip to the moon. Absolutely amazing place. You need to visit if you're in the area. Lima, Ohio, nearby. It's like 12 miles north. Make sure you stop and see it. After leaving the museum, I crossed into Indiana, spent the night in Elkhart. It was a relatively short day of only 172 miles, but it was relaxing and fun. I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, be great, do good, go out and explore.